Welcome to Wisdom Unveiled. Happy New Year to everyone. We're hoping that your heart feels like spring. Today, we're going to be diving deep into the luminous world of Hafez Shirazi. We just came out of a really incredible deep dive into Hakim Sadra and his work and the profound insights that we found there. But I have to say that the feeling of a new year and the hope and vibrancy and all of that feels so aligned with the beauty and the passion that we find in Hafez Divan. And so this is the first of several deep dives that we'll be taking into his work. And, when I think of mysticism, sometimes I think images of solemnity come to mind, or, the detachment from the world. But Hafez, he strikes me as one of the most ardent of mystics, and he sings with such fervor about joy, about love, about the exquisite beauty of spring. So I guess I want to just start with a question that's been blossoming in my own thoughts. What is the essence of this Instaramikedi Xienja?
Is it just the delight of the natural spring unfolding around us, or does the mystical spring offer us something different, maybe even more profound?
Yeah.
Ooh, Shon. Yeah, what a delightful question to begin our exploration of Hafez, especially as we welcome the possibilities of a new year. It's fundamental to grasp that UAF, this mystical path we're about to explore through Hafez's poetry, is at its heart about joy. Deep enthusiasm and an intense love for the beloved. Now, sadness does have its place in this journey, but it's primarily the oscus, the sorrow of separation from the beloved. And here's a fascinating twist. This very sorrow, this feeling of longing, is paradoxically considered the most exquisite feeling by the Yeshi, the lover. A true lover wouldn't trade that ache of separation for anything the world could offer.
That really flips the script on how we usually think about sadness. So it's not negative in itself, but almost like a measure of the intensity of the love, like a constant yearning that keeps the connection alive.
Exactly. This mystical path, as illuminated by poets like Hafez, overflows with happiness, with a fervent love, and a thrilling excitement for the beloved. You might recall when we discussed Rumi how his poetry from beginning to end resonates with, hawk-like fervor, happiness, and love. He famously declared, "I am the slave of the moon, other than the moon I say nothing," highlighting this focus on radiance and joy. And in this spirit, Hafez is very much akin to Rumi. Their core essence, the path they walk, is the same path of love, but expressed with a distinct style, a different approach, and a unique way of seeing. Both poets navigate this challenging ICH journey lovingly with ICH fervor, happiness, and joy, and the difficulty of the path, rather than diminishing the joy for those who tread it, often deepens it. Think of it this way. If the path to something truly precious were easy, everyone would be on it. The very challenges we face on this path of love seem to amplify the joy for those who persevere.
It gives a whole new layer of meaning to the struggles we face, doesn't it? It's about the journey itself shaping the joy. Now let's turn our attention to Kisa, the spring. As we step into this new year, there's this natural hope for fresh starts, maybe even a renewal in our thinking. And you mentioned that Hafez likely imbued spring with a spiritual significance. So how does this spiritual spring relate to the natural spring that's unfolding around us? Is there a bridge between this outward rebirth and the inward transformation that we often long for?
Absolutely. The connection is deep and meaningful. This Esha, this new spring we're experiencing, isn't separate from the spiritual spring that Hafez speaks of. In fact, the outward manifestation, the Esha, the new clothes we might wear to celebrate ideally, reflects an inner transformation and new thoughts, new perspectives. If we adorn ourselves outwardly, but our inner world remains unchanged, the newness is superficial. True renewal blossoms from within, from new ways of thinking. And regarding your question about the meaning of spring in Hafez's context, while his poetry certainly points towards a spiritual spring, it's vital to understand that this isn't in opposition to the natural spring. Indeed, this outward spring originates from the Anesha, the realm of meaning. Where else could it truly come from? What else could orchestrate the very changing of the seasons?
So the tangible changes we see in nature are almost like echoes of a deeper, more fundamental reality.
Precisely. Spring signifies moderation, that perfect balance after the intensity of winter and before the full heat of summer. It's the season when what lay hidden within nature in its AC, its inner dimension, now manifests. Surya appears thanks to this perfect equilibrium of the season. Think about the unfolding. Flowers bloom, leaves unfurl, greenery bursts forth. All of this potential was present within nature lying dormant during winter. The gentle balance of spring provides the precise conditions for this inner potential to become visible, and this very principle applies to Satirius, to us as human beings. Everything, in a sense, exists within us. Our connection with the external world, including the beauty of the natural spring, acts as a catalyst, allowing what is dormant within our own AC to awaken and manifest. Therefore, a spring in a profound sense is the outward showing of the ace, the inner dimension, in harmony with the ace, the balanced energy of the season.
That's such a beautiful way to think about it, the outer world reflecting our inner potential. And you mentioned that for the mystic, every moment has the potential to be spring. How does one cultivate that kind of inner springtime?
For the Fichi, every moment holds the potential to be a state of a balanced state, where fleeting whims and uncontrolled desires do not hold sway. It's about achieving a balance between the kash, the outward life, and the essin, the inner world. The Estian isn't someone who retreats entirely from the world, nor are they solely captivated by outward appearances. They strive for a capaccio, a spring-like moderation in their inner and outer lives. Therefore, the true Kun lives in a perpetual state of Essene, and each spring in the natural world serves as a reminder, a reflection of this constant inner renewal. It's never just a repetition of the past. It mirrors the becoming new that permeates the Sion, the entire universe. Every single moment carries the potential for newness. Every moment can be a spring for the one who has attained this inner equilibrium. And our hope is that this state of perpetual spring, this Katsium, becomes a lived reality for all of us.
You touched on something earlier that really sparked my curiosity, this idea that the sorrow of separation can be experienced as sweet. And this resonates with that feeling that I think a lot of us have, that in moments of solitude or longing, we sometimes feel this deeper connection to something larger than ourselves, perhaps even to the divine. We have that beautiful prayer, say, "O companion of every stranger, O consoler of every lonely one." So could you elaborate on this seemingly paradoxical nature of separation and its connection to feeling closer to the divine?
This is a truly profound question, and one that often arises when contemplating the mystical experience. Why would Ishe separation be considered delicious, even amidst its inherent guyu hardship? It appears to be a contradiction, doesn't it? But this very paradox speaks volumes about the Ife Shike, the immensity of love. To truly begin to understand this, one must have tasted the essence of love. For those who haven't experienced the unique flavor of true affection, this idea might be difficult to grasp. How can something be simultaneously the hardest and the most delightful of experiences? The ufugu, the very essence of love, especially when it's ish, elevated, and ease, true love, is incredibly challenging to convey to someone who hasn't yet tasted its sweetness and its pain. For the us, the lover, particularly the true lover, the uhu, the mystic, the beloved, becomes absolutely everything. There is no concept of anything higher or more valuable than this beloved.
So the sheer value of the beloved is so immense that even the pain of absence takes on a different kind of meaning.
Precisely. The beloved becomes incomparable and hunch infinite. And this feeling of lack, this katan, this persistent yearning continues even upon reaching a form of union. This holds true even in oinch, figurative or earthly love, if the love has a genuine core. There's always a sense of longing for something more, something that transcends the immediate connection. A beautiful verse from a contemporary poet, Dolce, may his soul rest in peace, captures this perfectly. In Onjan Ho, even in union with you, my rose, I am ablaze with love. You cannot truly claim to be a lover until you understand the depth of this longing. You see, the Oris, the lover, always harbors this Oris of a wanting, a desire that is inherently Oyers infinite. If a human being were to reach a point where they no longer desired anything, that cessation of wanting would signify Oyon, a spiritual death, or immanal non-existence, a descent into darkness and nothingness. Wanting, in its fundamental nature, is a sign of life, but an absolute absence of wanting is not the human condition. There are those whose entire being is consumed by the desire for the beloved. Offer them all the treasures of the earth, and they will simply say, I have no need for them. This kind of not wanting is, in reality, the highest form of wanting. But for the ordinary person, a complete lack of desire equates to a lack of being, like an inanimate object devoid of life. The truly desired is the sum, infinite beloved, and so one is never truly and completely satisfied with anything less. And this courtesy, the hope of union, constantly keeps the su, the lover, alive. The very feeling of drawing closer to the beloved is an intensely delicious, even amidst coarse hardship, because the anticipated joy of union completely overshadows the amer, the difficulties encountered along the way.
That's a very powerful image, the hope itself sustaining us through the challenges. You mentioned Mullah Sadra's perspective on this as well.
Yes, Mullah Sadra offers a particularly insightful perspective here. He explains that the the fire of separation, is sweet precisely because within that fire, the Iya, the lover, purges away the kino, all that is other than the beloved. When these distractions are consumed, the lover draws ever nearer to the beloved ultimately becoming guisa, embraced in union. This aligns perfectly with what I was saying. The true lover desires nothing but the beloved. Everything else is ultimately consumed in the intense flame of that singular desire.
That leads to another fascinating point that arises from our exploration, the sequence of spring and saltless winter that we observe in the natural world. This constant cycle of flourishing and then dormancy. Does this also manifest within us as human beings? Is there a parallel journey from affliction to ease, and from keen hardships to joys within our own inner landscapes?
Absolutely. This cyclical pattern is a fundamental principle that resonates throughout existence. The sequence that you witness in the passage of time and in the changing of the four seasons is a continuous cycle that has been present from the very inception of creation. Time itself is Oshit, sequential in its very nature. And this sequence of time isn't monotonous. It has its own Oshit, its winter, its Oshit, its summer, its Shank, its spring, and its autumn, just as we observe in the natural world around us. This sense of sheet of newness and of becoming old is intrinsic to time and its various manifestations. We don't directly perceive Oshut of abstract time. Instead, our perception of Lushit, of time, is mediated through Oshit temporal events, such as the shifting seasons. These seasons visibly exhibit Aishi newness and Aishi the process of aging, clearly signifying heat and change. Lushit, winter, embodies contraction, a drawing inward. Autumn is the season of Aishi winter, the falling of leaves, a necessary prelude to new growth.
So these external cycles aren't just something we observe, but they actually mirror processes happening within us.
Precisely. This very sequence exists within the Yuna Philae whole, the human psyche, often unfolding at a much more rapid pace than in the external world of nature. The stun, the soul, experiences its own uleho, winter, autumn, echa, spring, and isho, summer, through the ongoing transformation of Salicho, all thoughts. Old thoughts are shed and new thoughts arise, creating a continuous, perpetual spring within our inner world. As the wisdom goes, woe to the one whose 2 days are the same. There must be a constant process of inner renewal. Let me share a profound verse from Rumi that beautifully illustrates this dynamism. Example, Isha ho, Isha shengsha, Kise Elyon from a single thought that enters the heart, 10 worlds can be utterly overturned in a single instant. This powerfully highlights the transformative capacity of our inner shifts. While our physical bodies align with the broader rhythms of the natural seasons, our psyche operates on its own much faster cycles of renewal.
That's a powerful way to visualize the constant flux of our inner lives. This idea of Ayash, new and fresh, makes me think about the thing Asha, the entirety of creation itself. Could Okoncho resurrection be seen as a potential Eshtesher, the ultimate spring of the universe?
Yeah, most certainly. Rumi himself lends his voice to this understanding of Watsa, of resurrection, as the ultimate unfolding, the supreme etch of all existence. He beautifully states, Hiche etch an watiso, hieshe. This new spring sprouts forth after death. It is the very proof of the existence of resurrection. He even employs a vivid anecdote of hidden walnuts being revealed in the spring as a compelling analogy. A landowner's servant, you see, would secretly steal walnuts from a chest and bury them in a hidden corner of the yard, intending to enjoy them later. But when spring arrived, walnut saplings sprouted, undeniably revealing his theft. Rumi concludes, the hidden secrets will eventually be brought to light. Whatever this earth has consumed will ultimately be exposed. Similarly, whatever we conceal within ourselves will in its time become manifest. And this fundamental sequence of kach, the outward, and ait, the inward, also profoundly exists within us as human beings.
Huatsa, spring, in this context, can be beautifully likened to Onasikar, resurrection, the visible manifestation of what lies inijianche within the very fabric of nature.
So resurrection isn't solely a future event, but a fundamental principle of unveiling that we see reflected in the cycles of nature even now.
Precisely. Consider the illuminating verse from the Quran, Shulke tho'e anishe, the day when secrets will be disclosed. This points towards the ultimate unveiling of the Eshe, the innermost dimensions of being. While Luso, the final resurrection, is a promised event, some individuals experience a form of it here and now through the very process of self-revelation, through the unfolding and manifestation of their inner being. Rumi's powerful verse, "So, air, arise, and resurrection will appear," suggests that the very act of bringing one's inner essence into the light is itself a form of us or profound unveiling. Humans possess these dimensions of so, the outward, and the inward, more profoundly than any other created being, with layers of inner depth potentially extending infinitely. These Eishe, these inner dimensions, manifest according to one's Wensho spiritual station, present state, and Wusho the opportune time, depending on the specific conditions of so manifestation. When the circumstances are ripe and the inner essence of a person fully manifests, that is, their own unique Edisho, their own spiritual spring. This is why the Asha, the mystic, who constantly strives for inner purity and awareness, experiences a perpetual state of atirat, of inner flourishing.
This connects so beautifully with the idea of our inherent potential waiting to bloom. The verse, "So ewo yashener," continues with a rather stark phrase, Yishajihu, then he will have no power or any helper. Does this imply that those who lack inner grease, inner reserves, like a seed without a kernel, will not experience this spring, this unveiling? What about those who haven't actively cultivated goodness within themselves?
It is indeed true that whatever resides in the eighth, the inner being, will ultimately manifest. The crucial aspect lies in the fundamental nature of that ace. While the luck enu, the perfected human being, exists in a perpetual state of a constant flourishing, with a fundamentally pure ese, it's essential to understand that according to core Islamic teachings, all human beings inherently possess a pure ese by their very nature. If you need to say Isha, they're accidental or external additions. This is a profoundly important point. While these Isha, these inner beings, manifest in their own unique springtime, no one is truly without a Isha. Even those who haven't actively accumulated good reserves still possess an inner being. The Eshe, the pure divine nature with which God has created humanity, means that our Eshe is inherently ucho, pure and holy. However, these Esho, these external afflictions, can indeed cover over this inherent purity, and these Esho may manifest temporarily.
So even negative manifestations are ultimately temporary overlays on our true nature.
Precisely. A guiding rational principle here is every accidental attribute is destined to pass away. The essential qualities are imperishable. While ilika, accidental characteristics such as the color of a flower can certainly change, the fundamental the underlying essence remains constant. Because the human our core essence is fundamentally pure and holy, its ultimate manifestation is inherently good, akin to the blossoming of spring. Negative afflictions may indeed appear, but they are temporary phenomena and will eventually fade away, ultimately leading to the good and eka, spring-like manifestation of the inner being. This is why even a non-believer, will experience Weka resurrection, although their accumulated impurities, will need to undergo a process of setex, of being purged, which may involve a period of difficulty.
That's a deeply comforting and reassuring perspective on the inherent goodness within all of us. This leads us to a truly beautiful verse from Hafez. You couldn't you white trying to did and to him you white answer and says the veiled and the intoxicated both are joyful, both belong to the same tribe. To whose alluring glance should we surrender our hearts? What choice is there? What is the profound wisdom held within these lines?
This verse is indeed brimming with profound insight. Osana, the veiled or hidden one, is juxtaposed with Osei, the intoxicated or enraptured lover, the mystic. Yet Hafez declares that both are Oshia joyful and both originate from the same Hosia, the same tribe. This signifies that both are fundamentally two human beings, each possessing that sokrihit, that pure inner essence we have been discussing. While the intoxicated one may have attained a higher lorsha, a more elevated station in love and spiritual realization, ultimately they share the same afriyu, the fundamental human nature, which is inherently say, pure. This aligns beautifully with core Islamic teachings, which view human nature as intrinsically good, a perspective that differs from some other traditions that posit an inherent sinfulness. In Islam, even sin is considered accidental and hoisia inasia, capable of being purified. Therefore, when Hafez states, obiosie, ekwe, exculi, the veiled and the intoxicated belong to the same tribe, he is underscoring that Chorus is pure and holy, the pure and holy, the inner being of humanity. Everyone at their core possesses the capacity for this inherent joy and this fundamental connection to the divine.
That's a truly unifying and hopeful thought. Now let's finally return to the very first the opening verse of Hafez that set the stage for our discussion today. Inaskom, we've explored the rich meanings of spring, but who exactly is this Horso Kaber, and what is the true nature of this hiya, this waiting?
As we noted at the beginning, many interpret Hafez's love as primarily earthly, but you hinted that this might be an incomplete understanding.
You are absolutely correct. While it's true that some of Hafez's verses can certainly be interpreted through the lens of earthly love, to confine his entire divan to that single interpretation would be to overlook its profound depth and breadth. There are numerous instances where his words clearly soar beyond the earthly realm. Moreover, even those verses that seem rooted in earthly experiences can be beautifully illuminated by understanding the underlying spiritual toe, the divine love that permeates his work. Consider this this waiting for the kabemer by someone who dapplet a jace. Theophino, who possesses the aspiration to tear open the very fabric of the sky and lay down a new design, someone imbued with such lofty passions. I stare at him. Blessed be these powerful passions that reside within our minds. Such a person with such a profound inner yearning isn't merely longing for ordinary earthly wine. The so that Hafez yearns for offers the honha, the wine of divine love, and a divine gnosis, profound spiritual knowledge. This is the wine that empowers the Ida, the mystic, to transcend the limitations of the material world. It is not simply the product of usosena, of mere grape wine. This spiritual wine is often referred to as usonyo, the wine of gnosis, or usona, the wine of love concepts that are deeply intertwined and inseparable.
So this cupbearer is offering something far more transformative than just physical intoxication.
Precisely. The esteemed Alamet Tabatabai, in his insightful work, Diohese, the beauty of the sun beautifully suggests that Hafez's very essence and spiritual yearning necessitate the seeking of Yukes. Wine Ojke, wine a Kemper wine, which symbolizes purity, coolness, and spiritual clarity. Ultimately, the Okin deeper meaning of the cupbearer in this context is often interpreted as God himself, the ultimate source and bestower of Ugyes of divine knowledge. Alternatively, the Haf can also symbolize the cupbearer, the perfected human being, or the spiritual guide who serves as a conduit and bestows the Oyesia, the wine of gnosis, upon the seeker. This is a well-established understanding within the mystical tradition. And this Oyesa, this waiting, is the deep longing for more and more of that Uyayonsias, the intoxicating wine of divine knowledge and love, a continuous, unquenchable thirst for spiritual growth and deeper connection. Just as the Siu, as a perfected human being, is considered the beloved of humanity and a manifestation of Si, of the ultimate truth that the lover constantly awaits Si, the quenching of their spiritual thirst. From this always feeling a sense of longing, because the ocean of Wunya, of divine knowledge, is boundless. The more one drinks from the Kunya Hesunya, the cup of the wine of love and gnosis, the greater the desire becomes. This hois, this divine task, is such that those who truly taste this wine will never willingly let go, and the Ahoishiosi, as the eternal wine cellar of divine love, is perpetually overflowing.
That paints such a vivid picture of this ongoing, deeply enriching pursuit of spiritual knowledge and love. Now, Hafez also offers this wisdom. Whenever a pleasant moment presents itself, consider it a precious gain, for no one knows how swiftly the end of the affair approaches. This resonates so strongly with the philosophy of Khayyam, emphasizing the crucial importance of seizing the present moment.
You've made an excellent connection. This verse indeed echoes the Khayyam-like philosophy of Olovanyo, of deeply valuing our time, and Olovanyo, of diligently seizing every opportunity. Hafez, much like Khayyam, underscores the vital importance of not becoming overly fixated on the past or excessively hopeful about the distant future, especially if it comes at the expense of fully engaging with the richness of the present moment. Each moment is unique, a singular occurrence that will never repeat itself in precisely the same way. If one fails to have you to truly benefit from the present moment, whether by being trapped in regrets of the past or lost in dreams of the future, that particular moment is irretrievably lost. Therefore, Emshia actively utilizing each present moment is absolutely crucial, utilizing it in a way that aligns with one's inherent abilities, suitability, essence, and ultimate Kievu humanity. And the most profound ash, the greatest benefit in every single moment, is the opportunity for increasing our knowledge and deepening our spiritual gnosis.
All other forms of benefit are fleeting and ultimately insignificant unless they contribute to this fundamental growth in Limgudia. This insightful verse from Hafez directly points us towards this very wisdom to recognize and seize the precious opportunities for inner growth that each pleasant moment offers.
So this waiting for the Oko, the cupbearer isn't a passive state, but rather an active state of being present and alert to those moments when we can receive the Oko, the wine of divine knowledge. And in those moments, we should embrace them fully.
Precisely. And let's consider another illuminating verse. The very source of joy is to be found where the beloved resides. Every human being possesses a hue, a heart, and inherently yearns for a isho, a heart holder, a beloved. The true you is the one who truly holds our hue in their loving hand. A hue that is not held by a higher power, by a true beloved, is like scattered like water aimlessly flowing in all directions. True happiness, therefore, lies in the connection, in the place where the hue lovingly holds the hue. If that is the eternal beloved, whether we understand that as the perfected human or the ultimate truth itself, and our you is secure in their hand, then that is the very wellspring of true ingyu, of genuine and lasting joy. While our you is in a sense always in the hand of the ultimate you, we are not always fully aware of this profound reality. Cultivating this awareness, this conscious recognition, brings about a deeper and more abiding happiness.
The sacred hadith, Koisarodith Koyesquachu. The heart of the believer is held between two fingers of the most compassionate. Beautifully illustrates this profound and intimate connection. It is quite conceivable that Hafez himself was deeply inspired by the wisdom of this hadith. The quote says the mystic's heart is perpetually held within the embrace of God's two fingers, the fingers embodying Ik, divine majesty, and Ihosho, divine beauty, Kuisho, divine wrath, and divine kindness, representing the perfect balance inherent in all of existence. To truly feel this reality, to perceive one's own heart held securely in the hand of the ultimate Belaisho, is to experience the very essence of true but of authentic joy. And regarding the term Eid Kunhant, opportunism, as it relates to Hafez's verse, it's crucial to understand it not in a negative exploitative sense, but rather as hoi to Kunhant, the wise and discerning act of seizing every precious opportunity for union, for Gnostic insights, for spiritual growth that arises in each present moment.
This has been such a wonderfully rich and insightful exploration of just the opening verse of Hafez. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, and I'm already eagerly anticipating our next opportunity to delve deeper.
Indeed. To briefly encapsulate the wisdom we've uncovered today from the vibrant Ekri, the spring of the natural world, we are guided to seek and cultivate the Ekri, the spring that resides within our own hearts. May our hearts forever remain as fresh and full of potential as the spring. The Ekri, the cupbearer, represents the spiritual guide, or the Ekri, the perfected human being from whose radiant presence we should always seek to benefit. And Sikri, the act of waiting with longing and awareness, is a fundamental characteristic of the Ikriyo, the mystic seeker, who is perpetually in pursuit of the transformative Ekriye, the intoxicating wine of divine gnosis.
And let's return to those opening lines of our deep dive, once more echoing the arrival of spring and its profound beauty. Oh, Senye Shanye, Isino Cashboing. Who said, Yeshe, Ishinche, You Aishenje, you Ishen, she get the womb kish. Here you're cool. Kish scope, how ish eshe. Kochenske Kayeshe. What a profound wonder it is to witness the intricate artistry of God's creation, so beautifully manifested in the arrival of spring. May we all experience a deep a true and lasting benefit from this class of spring-like gnosis. Until our paths cross again for our next deep dive, we bid you farewell and extend our warmest blessings.
Rie.